Is Canada still in control of its own immigration system? Or has it been quietly captured by foreign influence? Shocking evidence suggests that Canada's IRCC is no longer serving Canadians first, but instead handing over power to outsiders. Let's uncover the truth behind this takeover. Chapter 1. The rise of IRCC power. Canada's immigration system was never meant to be as powerful as it is today. Originally, immigration served as a tool to address labor shortages and population growth. But over the last few decades, the Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada (IRCC) department has become one of the most influential arms of government. With each year, immigration levels rose higher than before. In the early 1990s, Canada welcomed fewer than 200,000 newcomers annually. Fast forward to today, and the numbers surpass 500,000 per year, with targets set to keep climbing. The IRCC became the gatekeeper of who gets in, who stays, and who becomes Canadian. Politicians quickly realized the immense power immigration held. It could shape voting demographics, fill labor gaps, and even influence housing markets. This gave IRCC leverage beyond any other government agency. Suddenly, immigration was no longer about integration, it was about politics. As immigration grew, Canadians started to notice that decisions were being made without much public input. While Canadians worried about affordability, IRCC pushed forward with higher intake numbers. This disconnect between citizens and policymakers became a source of rising frustration. Critics argue that IRCC's unchecked power has turned it into a state within a state. Its decisions impact jobs, housing, healthcare, and the economy, but ordinary Canadians rarely get a say. The department's influence now stretches into every corner of Canadian life. Former government insiders have even admitted that IRCC has more autonomy than most ministries. Unlike health or finance, where budgets are debated openly, immigration decisions are often made behind closed doors. Transparency is limited, and accountability is minimal. For decades, immigration was framed as a good news story that politicians rarely challenged. This created a culture of silence where IRCC grew stronger without public scrutiny. As long as the system seemed to work, few questioned how it was run. But in recent years, cracks have appeared. Canadians are asking, who really controls the future of this country? And increasingly, the answer points not to the people, but to an immigration system captured by special interests. Chapter 2. Foreign influence. Creeping in at the heart of the capture theory lies one undeniable fact. India has become the largest source of newcomers to Canada. Over 40% of international students, work permit holders, and permanent residents now come from India. This massive tilt toward a single country is unprecedented. It started slowly, with student visas. Canadian universities and colleges saw an opportunity to profit from international enrollments, particularly from India. Over time, this became a multi-billion-dollar industry, with schools dependent on the flow of Indian students for revenue. Work permits soon followed. Temporary foreign worker programs and post-graduation work visas overwhelmingly tilted toward Indian nationals. Employers discovered a steady supply of labor, often willing to work for lower wages, making them more attractive than Canadian-born workers. This wasn't just about numbers, it was about networks. Lobbying groups, consultants, and even foreign-based recruiters built a powerful machine to funnel Indian nationals into Canada. IRCC became the pipeline, granting approvals at rates that alarmed critics. As the numbers swelled, Canadians began to notice their campuses, workplaces, and even neighborhoods changing dramatically. What was once promoted as diversity started looking like dominance. The idea of balanced immigration gave way to overwhelming concentration. Politicians tied to immigrant-heavy ridings leaned into this imbalance. They realized that supporting policies favorable to Indian newcomers could secure votes and influence. In return, policies skewed further toward accommodating one group over others. The result is a growing perception that Canada's immigration policy is no longer set by Canadians for Canadians, but heavily influenced by external interests. The dominance of Indian nationals in Canada's immigration flows is not just a statistic, it's a signal of capture. For many Canadians, This shift feels less like natural immigration and more like the quiet takeover of a national system by foreign influence, powered by politics, money, and lobbying. Chapter 3. Who really benefits? The promise of immigration has always been that it benefits everyone. Newcomers thrive, and Canadians enjoy economic growth. But increasingly, people are asking, who really benefits from the current system? Employers clearly do. With a steady supply of international workers willing to accept lower wages, companies can keep labor costs down. For businesses, it's a win. But for Canadian workers, it means lost opportunities, stagnant wages, and increased competition. Colleges and universities also profit enormously. International students often pay 3 to 4 times higher tuition than Canadian students. This revenue funds budgets and salaries, making the system financially dependent on constant inflows of newcomers. Politicians also benefit. By courting immigrant-heavy communities, they secure reliable voting blocs. This creates incentives for leaders to raise immigration targets even further, regardless of whether locals support it. But ordinary Canadians? Many feel they're losing. Housing affordability has collapsed as demand soars beyond supply. In cities like Toronto and Vancouver, bidding wars make home ownership impossible for many young Canadians. Job markets are oversaturated, with recent graduates competing against international students who are funneled directly into work permits. Locals struggle to find stable, well-paying jobs in industries where they once thrived. Healthcare systems are overwhelmed. More people mean longer wait times, crowded emergency rooms, and underfunded services. While politicians celebrate growth, ordinary Canadians feel the burden. In short, the winners are institutions and politicians. The losers are the very Canadians the system was supposed to protect. The benefits of immigration are not shared equally, and Canadians are starting to see it. Chapter 4. Parliament Connection. The capture of Canada's immigration system doesn't stop at IRCC offices. It extends deep into Parliament, where decisions are supposed to reflect the will of all Canadians. Instead, immigration has become a political weapon used to secure votes in immigrant-heavy ridings. Cities like Brampton, Mississauga, and Surrey have become political battlegrounds. Politicians know that winning these ridings means catering to the interests of large immigrant communities, particularly those from India. Immigration policy is no longer about balance, it's about electoral math. Leaders discovered that by promising higher immigration levels, they could secure unwavering support. This transformed immigration into a political currency, traded for votes and influence. The Canadian-born population, meanwhile, watched as their voices were sidelined. Parliamentary debates reveal a striking pattern: immigration levels are rarely questioned. The only discussions revolve around how to make the process faster, larger, and more accessible for newcomers. The concerns of Canadians struggling with housing and jobs are brushed aside. Lobbyists and community leaders play a major role in shaping policies. Politicians eager for votes attend cultural festivals, endorse community leaders, and push for immigration-friendly platforms, all while ignoring growing backlash from ordinary Canadians. Critics argue that this amounts to demographic manipulation. By flooding ridings with newcomers, parties can all but guarantee victory, ensuring policies continue to serve immigrant-heavy regions over the wider population. Some warn that this undermines democracy itself. Instead of representing Canadians broadly, Parliament increasingly represents blocs of newcomers whose numbers are growing rapidly through policies that benefit them directly. This connection between Parliament and IRCC ensures that immigration remains untouchable. Even when Canadians protest, their concerns are drowned out by the political rewards of importing more voters. Chapter 5. The cost to Canadians. Every policy decision comes with consequences, and in this case, it's Canadians who bear the brunt. The most obvious cost is housing. With record immigration levels, demand has skyrocketed while supply remains stagnant, pushing home prices and rents to all-time highs. Young Canadians face an impossible situation. Many are forced to live with parents longer, delay starting families, or abandon the dream of homeownership altogether. For them, Canada's housing market is broken beyond repair. Healthcare is another area of collapse. Hospitals across the country report record wait times, overcrowded emergency rooms, and staff shortages. With hundreds of thousands of new arrivals each year, the system is buckling under pressure. Job markets are equally strained. Employers now have an oversupply of workers, many of whom are willing to accept lower wages. This keeps salaries stagnant, leaving Canadian graduates competing against cheaper foreign labor for the same positions. Infrastructure is falling apart. Schools in immigrant-heavy neighborhoods are overcrowded, public transit is underfunded, and roads are congested. These are daily costs Canadians pay without ever being asked if they wanted higher immigration in the first place. Social services are stretched thin. Food banks, housing shelters, and welfare programs report record demand. Canadians who once relied on these services now find themselves competing against newcomers for the same limited resources. Beyond material costs, there is a cultural toll. Many Canadians feel disconnected from their own communities, where familiar institutions are replaced with ones catering to newcomers. This creates a sense of alienation in the very country they built. The costs of mass immigration are not shared equally. Institutions profit, politicians gain votes, but ordinary Canadians lose jobs, homes, and peace of mind. This imbalance fuels the anger behind claims of IRCC capture. Chapter 6. Warnings ignored. The crisis Canada faces today did not arrive without warning. For years, experts, economists, and even community leaders cautioned that unchecked immigration would lead to disaster. But their warnings were ignored. Housing analysts predicted years ago that mass immigration would push demand far beyond supply, causing prices to spiral. Instead of slowing immigration to match housing capacity, the government raised targets even higher. Healthcare professionals warned that hospitals could not handle endless population growth without massive investment. But funding never kept pace. Today, the warnings have come true. Collapsing healthcare systems are now front-page news. Labor market experts cautioned that oversupplying the workforce with foreign labor would depress wages and harm Canadians. Instead, policies expanded work permit programs, giving businesses easy access to cheaper workers while sidelining locals. Even ordinary Canadians spoke up. Communities across the country expressed frustration at overcrowding, job losses, and cultural tension. But instead of listening, leaders dismissed these concerns as xenophobic or anti-immigrant. This silencing of debate made the crisis worse. Instead of confronting reality, Canada's leaders buried their heads in the sand, afraid to admit their policies were failing. The few who dared to raise alarms were attacked, ridiculed, or ignored. Honest debate was replaced with propaganda about growth and diversity, leaving Canadians powerless to question decisions. The result is today's crisis: a system spinning out of control, warnings ignored, and consequences now unavoidable. Chapter 7. The future of IRCC. If current trends continue, IRCC's power will only grow. Immigration targets are set to rise beyond 500,000 per year, with little indication of slowing down. This means IRCC's influence over Canada's future will become absolute. With more newcomers arriving each year, housing markets will tighten further, healthcare systems will collapse under pressure, and job markets will saturate. Canadians risk becoming second-class citizens in their own country. Politicians, tied to immigrant-heavy ridings, will double down on these policies. As immigration grows, so does the voting power of these communities, creating a cycle of dependence that ensures no party dares to challenge IRCC. This cycle means immigration will remain untouchable, regardless of its impact on Canadians. The system has effectively locked in a future where foreign influence dictates domestic policy. Some experts warn this trajectory could spark cultural clashes. When locals feel excluded in their own country, resentment grows. Left unchecked, this could lead to deeper divides, protests, and unrest. Economically, the future looks unstable. Wages stagnate, inflation rises, and resources strain. Instead of prosperity, Canada risks long-term decline under the weight of unsustainable immigration. Without reform, IRCC will remain a state within a state. Its power will eclipse even Parliament, dictating Canada's direction regardless of democratic input. The question remains: Is it too late to stop? Or can Canadians reclaim control before IRCC becomes untouchable forever? Chapter 8. Final wake-up call. Canadians must now confront the truth. Their immigration system no longer serves them. What was once a tool to build a nation has become a weapon used against its own people. Evidence of capture is everywhere, from housing collapse to job losses, from Parliament to IRCC itself. Canadians are waking up to the realization that their country is being reshaped without their consent. The silence around these issues is dangerous. By branding critics as xenophobic, leaders have shut down debate, ensuring the system remains unchallenged. But silence cannot last forever. As costs rise and communities fracture, Canadians will demand answers. The only question is whether those answers will come too late. Canada stands at a crossroads. It can continue down a path of unchecked immigration and foreign capture, or it can reclaim its system for the people it was meant to serve. This is not just about numbers, it's about the survival of Canada's identity, culture, and future. Every decision today shapes what kind of country will exist tomorrow. The first step is awareness. Canadians must speak up, demand accountability, and refuse to be silenced. Without this, the capture of IRCC will be complete. The wake-up call is here. The only question is whether Canadians will answer it or sleep through the dismantling of their nation. If you found this video eye-opening, hit like and subscribe for more uncensored truths about Canada's future. And let me know in the comments, do you think Canada's immigration system has been captured?